Hello everybody. Today we're going to be building this second brain that you see on screen from absolute scratch. So if you're anything like me and you need a personal knowledge management system to help you keep on track throughout your day and just store everything in your life so you don't have to manually think about it, this video is going to be perfect for you. We're going to build this system step by step, including setting up all the databases, the front end, and everything that you see on screen now. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to start at this blank page where everybody starts in Notion, and we're going to build everything out from there so you can see exactly how this workspace is going to function, so you have a good fundamental understanding of how your second brain works, and so you can change it later, you can add things to it, so you really understand how to get the most out of the second brain. So let's start. Second brain, let's give it, we're going to use emojis for this. We're going to add a divider, and then we're going to plan everything out. So I need to set up databases. I need to set up the front end main page. I need to set up the menu pages. I need to set up the archive, and I need to set up templates plus layout. Okay, so let's get started. I know that I'm gonna need a page for all of my databases, so that's what we're gonna create first. We're gonna go to databases, add something that looks like data cd will do, and then we're going to build these databases out step by step. So the first thing we're gonna do is create a database page. We're gonna name this areas, and then we're gonna duplicate this page. We're gonna wait for it to load. Then we're gonna do that 2 more times here, 3 and then 4. We need a total of 5 databases to get started. Then we're going to go back and come through here and name them. The reason that we created all of them first instead of setting up all of the properties is because we're going to need to set these up with a bunch of relation properties, and we can't relate them to other databases unless the database already exists. So that is why we are setting up databases first. Okay, so now we're going to set up the properties for area. The first thing we're going to do is add a checkbox, and we're going to label this as archive. And we're going to change this to a box. I don't know why I wasn't able to click that. We're going to add a relation to resources that we just created. Next, we're going to add a relation to all of our other databases. So we need one for resources here. We're going to add two-way to areas. We're going to add a relation to projects. We're also going to add a relation to tasks. And we're going to add a relation to notes. The reason we added two ways is because we're going to want to see this area property on all of our other databases. If for any reason you don't want to see that property on the database you're relating it to, you would not click add two-way option for it. And we're also going to add a button. And this button is going to be archive area. We're going to change the automation to clear. And we're going to edit the archive to checked. So that way when we have a page in here, it'll just say clear and it will archive it. So now we'll move on to resources. This will be set up very similarly. So we're going to add a relation to projects. As we can see that right here, projects, a two-way. We're going to add a relation to notes. And finally, we'll add a relation to tasks. The reason all of these are related, just like they were in areas, is because resources function similarly to areas, but they're a subgroup of your areas. Let's say that you have an area of health, and you might have some general health projects, but you also might have specific projects for, let's say, cardio or fitness, let's say your diet, and that's what those resources would be. Those would be the diet, cardio, lifting, those sorts of things. It just adds another layer of organization to your brain. We're also going to add a checkbox just like we did before This is going to be the archive. We're going to make this a box, edit the property, and now we're going to add another button. We're going to do the same things we did in areas. It's going to be archive resource. We're going to change the button here. We're going to enable this to clear like we did before. We're going to edit the archive to be checked when we click it. So now we have resources set up. We're going to go down to projects next. As you can see, we already have our areas and resources related to it because we added those two-way views. So next we are going to add the relation to notes, add it two-way, there we go, and tasks, two-way, there we go. Also we need to add status. We also need to add a timeline, which is going to be our date property. We're also going to add two buttons as well. So we're going to click on button. This is going to be start project. We're going to edit this so it just says start. We're going to edit the status to be in progress when we click it. And we're also going to add another button, which is going to be complete project. And just like you saw before, we're going to name this complete. And the status is going to be done when we click it. So now the projects database is all set up. We're going to go on to tasks next. So we already have our relations in place. The only thing we have to do here is add a couple more properties like status. We're going to add another group called pause because I like to use that in my personal system. We're also going to add a select property, enable this priority. That was not right. Priority. And then let's name this ASAP, deep work, and quick. It's typically how I structure out my tasks. So it gives me a better view of, the amount of time I'm going to need to dedicate to all of these. Okay, next we're going to add a date property, which is going to be the due date, which is different than timeline because I label this due date because it's typically going to be one day that I do the task on, whereas projects, I label the date property timeline because I'm often going to include an end date for the project as well. We're also going to add a button. So we're going to go to add property, button, and we're going to do this complete task. We're just going to name this complete. And when it's done, we're going to want status to be done. Okay, there we go. Tasks is set up. Now we're going to move on to notes. We're going to add a checkbox property like areas and resources, and enable this the archive. We're going to give it an icon of a box. And then we're also going to add a button. This is going to be an archive note. But I really just wanted to say clear. And we're going to edit the archive property to checked. There we go. So now our database backend pages are all set up, and we can move on to building the front end of the system as well as the database templates and UI. Now we're going to go on to building the front end of our second brain. So first thing we're going to do is add two columns, and we're going to put the database over here. We're going to take this block, move it ahead, label this menu, add a divider. We're going to add a heading 2 and label this dashboard, add another divider, and then move this over here. And then we're going to do a page. This is where our areas page is going to be. And we can duplicate these because now we're going to need resources. We're going to need projects. We're going to need tasks. And then we're also going to need two other pages. So we're going to need notes. And we're also going to need archived. All right. So the first thing we can do is actually build this linked view for everything. So we have areas here. And we're going to want to label this as a gallery view, wrap properties, open and full page. So database title off, medium, okay. And we're gonna want to set none here. We're gonna want to filter this so that archive is not shown, and we're gonna label this as areas and 2 squares. We're gonna want to create another view, and this is gonna be the view for resources. We're gonna hide this. We're gonna label this resources. We're gonna give it an icon of the 9 squares instead of the 4. We're gonna filter by archive is unchecked. And we're also going to add a similar view where we see the gallery, no page content, medium is fine, open and full page. We're at page properties. Do we want to show any page properties? Yeah, we'll show archive resource in case we want to clear it. We also want to group it by all of our areas, which will look very good later. Next, we want to add projects, and we're just going to make a project board here. And I like to add these columns to indicate that. Name it again, colored columns. We're going to want to open side peek, that's fine. No card preview, that's good. And next we'll filter it by the status is not complete. And we want to show a couple properties on the page. So we want complete, and we want areas or resources, depending on which one it's related to and the timeline. That's our example page from before that we have yet to set incomplete, but if we do, it'll be gone here. Change the status. We'll edit this stuff later. Next, we're going to add a task calendar. So we're going to relate it to tasks. We are going to set the status filter so it is not complete. And on the front end, we're going to want to view, let's see, we want to complete tasks, see if what priority it is, and the status. We're going to want to hide this, get rid of that. We'll name this then task calendar. Replace the icon with the icon of tasks. And then we also want to do a view for recent notes. And in order to do that, we're going to add a few more properties. Grab all columns, that's good. Okay. We're going to need to add a created date. That way we can filter by when the project or the note was created. So if we do that, we can do archive is unchecked. And we're also going to want to click these 3 dots, add to advanced filter, add a filter rule. And so that the created date is on or after 1 month ago. What this will do is it will show all notes that were created within the past 30 days. So now that we have this basic dashboard set up, we can go on to setting up all of these pages here. So what we're going to do to speed this up is we're going to copy this and we are going to paste it inside of here. So we're going to add a divider, paste this, make the page full width. I'm going to add an icon for, there's not a good one for area, so we're just going to go back to using these icons. And we are going to get rid of everything that is not area now. I find this to be a little bit quicker than setting up a new database and going through all of the things we just went through. So now we have the areas. We want to duplicate this so we can see, we're just going to give it a table in case we want to view everything that it's related to, like this. We're going to want to hide this and move the archive area button over here. And still unchecked, that's good. We're going to want to change this icon to a table. And we're also going to want to see archived areas. So we add the box icon to symbolize that these areas have now been archived, and change this filter to checked. Click Save for everyone. And the last thing we're going to want to do to set up this page is add a button. So we're going to do /button. We're going to do new area. We're going to add a plus icon. And then we're going to add page to the areas database. We're going to open that page and open the new page we just created. Let me select new page added in full view. There we go. This page is now done. We can move on to resources. So just like we did before, we're going to make this full width. We're going to add a divider, leave space for the button. Now we have this one view, and we are going to not duplicate that. We're going to delete every view that is not resources. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to create a table view of resources. And we are going to go back to layout, click table. And it's grouped right now, so we're not seeing it. We want to remove the grouping. We want to get rid of this here and move the clear button over here. Perfect. We can also hide tasks that might get filled up quite quickly. And we also want to do archived resources. Add a box here. Change the filter to archive is checked. And then we want to add our button here for new resource. Plus, then we're going to want to add page 2, resources, and then open page we just added in full view. Done. There we go. Resources is now set up. We can add an icon to that like we did before. And for the sake of my OCD, we're going to change all of these to icons because that will drive me up a wall if they're not all the same. I didn't do it in the beginning because I wanted to separate from what you saw in the beginning, but now that we've have this structure built out already, it'll be perfectly fine. So now that we have that, we can go on and set up projects. Add a divider, paste it in, make it full width, leave room for the button, and we're going to delete everything that is not projects. Okay, next we are going to set up a table view for projects. Just like that, we're going to label this as table. We're going to add a table icon for it. And we are going to hide some properties. We don't want to see tasks on the front end. We don't want to see, we don't want to see start project either on the front end. We will see complete project. So there we go. We also want to add a timeline. Add an icon for timeline. We want to keep that status, and we want to show some properties on the front end like complete project status. Yeah. Let's also show areas and resources just in case we want to see that organization. The next view we're going to add is seeing all of our projects that are already completed. So we're going to those archived projects box, and then change the filter to is complete. And obviously then change this layout back to a table, and we should be good to go. The last thing we'll do on this page, besides adding this button, is add the icon. But first, let's add it to projects. Let's open the page we just added in full page. Let's add an icon to this for a plus. Now let's add an icon folder for projects. There we go. Okay, let's move on to tasks. Let's make this full view. Add divider, paste it in. Let's give some room for the button up top. Now let's get rid of everything that is not tasks. Oops, don't want to do that. Delete, 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 and delete. Okay, so now we have the task calendar, but we want to change this icon to actually represent a calendar, otherwise that might get confusing. We also want to do task by project, folder. We're going to change this to a table. We're going to wrap all columns, open inside pick, that's fine. We're going to need to filter this by not complete. What properties are we showing here? We want to move this here. Get rid of projects. Move the due date up, the status, and priority. And now we're going to group by projects. Another view I want to add is today, so I can see all the tasks I'm working on today. And to filter this, we're going to need to do a status is not complete. Click the three dots, add to advanced filter, add due date is relative to today. And we also need to remove the grouping of projects. There we go. And I want to see this. Actually, this is perfectly fine. And then the last thing we're going to do is add not scheduled. That way, if you don't have a due date on any of your tasks, there'll be a place you can see that so nothing slips through the cracks. And we're going to add a filter where due date is empty. There we go. Now we just add the button to click new tasks. You can add the plus icon for that. We can add page to our tasks. We can then open that page. What page? The new page we added. And let's do side peek. Done. All right, let's give the page an icon. I don't know how that balloon got there. All right, now we have an icon. Let's add notes. We're going to add a divider, paste that in, make it full width like we've done for every page, and then delete everything that is not notes. And we have everything deleted is now notes. We're going to keep a recent note. We're going to add space for the button. And we are going to add another view called all notes. And just like you guessed, this is just going to be notes that aren't archived. And next, we are going to add a view for notes by tag. So we can then group these notes by the tag, which we have not created yet. So we're going to add a select property. This is going to be tags. And now we're going to add some tags. So this could be a meeting note. This could be an audiobook, podcast, article, whatever you're taking notes on, we can tag it. But we want to group by that now. And then we can add an icon for that. There we go. And now that is set up. So we can add a button. New note. Add a plus icon. Add page 2. notes, add a property, no add action. We're going to open that page that we just added in SidePeek. We're going to give the page an icon. Notes is set up. Now we're going to do this one more time, copying and pasting this dashboard view into here. But the difference is we're not going to delete any of the views. We need all of them, and you'll see why. So we're going to change this to a box. This is the archive. And now what we're going to do is change everything to a table view, and then change the filter so we see what's checked. So now everything that's archived is going to pop up in here. That way you don't actually have to delete anything, but you can clear it from the main system. That keeps everything really organized, nice and clean. And for these, since we don't have an archive property, we're going to change this to is. So everything that's done is going to live here now. Change this back to table. And we're just going to change this to projects now. And add that icon that we've been using. Same thing with tasks. Change it to a table. Change the filter to is complete. Save. And let's do that one more time with notes. Change the filter to exact. There, now everything that gets archived or is complete is going to end up in the archive, so you can review it later. Nothing is going to get lost, and you don't have to delete anything. So now that we have everything set up, there's one last thing to do. As you can see, we need to update the templates and layout. So to go to the databases, we're going to start with areas. We're going to click new template and make this full page. Label it new area. And then we're going to give it that square icon that we were using before. And now start up the layout. We're going to customize layout here. We're going to do tabbed and full width. We are going to hide this property group into the panel. And the properties we want to see are probably just that. These can, we're going to hide all of these. The only thing we want to see, if we want to, by expanding the page details is archive, but only if it's checked. So now we can come here, add resources. Let's give it to the icon we were using. And let's put it as a gallery. We can wrap properties, open, full view, page content, none, card size medium, that's fine. Do we want to show any properties? Maybe archive resource in case we want to clear it. And then check the filter, it should be this page. And we also want to make sure that not only is it showing this page, let's try and apply that first. It won't seem to let me click it. So let's click customize layout. We want to filter not only this page, but we want to add filter here that is unchecked. There we go. So now we want to do that for a couple of other things now. We are going to do that for projects and notes. We want to add a project board for this area. Folder, layout, board, other columns, RP view, none, SidePeek, okay, filter, yes, this, but we also want to see things that are not complete. And on the front end, we want to view complete project. We want to see the timeline. Yeah, so the only thing we're going to see here. Okay, let's move on to the last one for this, and this is going to be notes. We're not adding tasks because any projects, it should, be rolled up into projects, all of your tasks. We're going to add the icon, change the filter to not only this page, but everything that is not archived, unchecked. Let's review. What do we want to hide on the front end? We don't want to see this. We want to move this behind the name. separately, it can be at the end. We do want to add tags. We're looking in areas right now, so we want to hide that. And we can keep projects and resources, that's fine. So let's apply that. And now the only thing we have left to set up on the template side here is, let's do area objective. Let's change this to mountain. And then let's also add, next we're going to add a call out just for quick notes. In case we want to jot anything down quickly. We don't have to add an actual note for it. Change this icon. There we go. So now we have the custom layout and the template done for areas. And we're going to go ahead and do that for all of the databases here. So same thing, a new template. We're going to do a new resource, make this a full page, add in the icon that we're using for resources, and then come up here to the top three, customize layout, move this panel. What do we want to pin to the top? Probably the action. And then we only want to see archive if it's shown. We're going to hide everything else. And then we need to come back into here, make this tabbed, full width. And then we can start adding the relations. So we want to see, I guess since this is resources and it rolls up into areas, we want to show the areas at the top too, because we want to know what area this resource is related to. So now we're going to add projects and notes. So the same thing, we're going to add a project board and do the exact same thing that we did to resources, but for resources. Or I guess the exact same thing we did to areas, but for resources. So we're going to add color column, that's good. We're going to adjust this to show complete timeline. And we're also going to come into the filter so that it's not only contains this page, but it is not complete. There we go. And then we want to do the same thing with notes. We're going to add right filter, not only this page, but anything that is not archived as well. We're going to adjust the front end here. We don't want to see the archive. We want to see the button. We don't want to see the resources because we're in that resource. And yeah, we'll set it up like this. And then click apply to all pages. For the content, we can do the same thing. Resource objective. And this is really customizable as far as what you want to do on this front end here. We don't have to do the same thing as we did in areas because I'll leave this up to you guys, but it is important that we see the related project board and notes for this resource. So let's move on to projects. This is when it's going to be a little bit simpler. Click a new template, do a new project, add an icon for it, folder. We're going to go to the top three, click customize layout. We're going to hide this panel and we're going to pin properties you want to see. So I typically like to see status, timeline, and then start and complete project. On the front end, we can add the areas and resources. So we're going to add areas here, add another one for resources. And then we're going to want to convert to a relations group and then add resources to the relations group. So they're all in one bundle here. We're going to apply that to all pages. We are going to customize the layout one more time. We're going to make this tab in full width and we're going to add tasks to it. We're going to do the same thing we've been doing with projects for areas and resources, but for tasks now, where we create a board of tasks for this specific project. We're going to do layout board, color columns. We're going to check the filter. So this not only this project, but we also want to see things that are not complete. So it's nice and clean. And we also want to see a complete tasks button. We want to see the due date. We already know what project this is related to. So we can apply to all pages. Now we have that done. We can add a project overview here. Now we're done with projects. Let's go on to tasks. This is going to be much simpler than the other ones. We're just going to do a new task. Give it an icon. We're going to customize the layout. We're going to add the property group to the panel. And we're going to add properties we want to see here. So we want to see complete task, due date, status, and priority. And I like to see it typically in this order. And since we might need to relate to this to other, I guess the only other properties. And since we want to see this actually, we're going to move this back to the panel because this is going to be like our filtering throughout the project. So when we create a task, we can fill out these views and then, what is this related to? And that's what this is for. We're going to apply that to all pages. And then we're going to do the same thing with notes. Do a new note. We're going to add the note icon we've been using. Come to the top three, click Customize Layout. We're going to, what do we want to pin here? Archive Note button. Where is this related to? And then the tags. So anything right here, we don't really want to see. We can move this to the panel. We can set archive only when shown. And this is obviously actually going to always be shown. But we do want to add projects right here. And honestly, to make this a little bit neater, what we're going to do is unpin areas and resources. And we're going to add them. Just like we did with tasks. Through the relation group. We need to make one of them the relation group first. And then we can add the other ones to it. Just like this. So now that's done. And now the workspace is pretty much functional. It's ready to go. So we're going to demo it quick. We can get rid of these because we're done. And actually, the one thing I don't want to forget is adding an inbox. This is really important for mobile. So if you're on your phone and you go to, add something to the system, we're going to want to do that quickly. So we're going to add an inbox button. So Dropbox, and this is going to be open page. We haven't created the page we're going to open yet. So what we're going to do is come into the database section, which is our backend, create an inbox page. Same icon. We're going to add a divider. We're going to keep it this view. And then we're going to go through all of our pages where we have a button set up and copy and paste them into this inbox page that we just created. I think it's this one, so we can leave it centered peak, that's fine. But now we want to add all of our buttons here. So we're just going to go through each of our pages, click inbox, add them to the inbox. Let's do projects. Project, tasks. And finally, notes. So now to give you a quick demo of the system, let's say I'm out and about, or I'm even at my desktop and I want to add a new resource. So let's say this is going to be, we need to add a business resource or area. And what are we doing with our business? Well, let's say we're building new websites and we took some notes on that. So we want to relate them to this project. So we can relate them to this project, but as you see, we don't actually have a notes view built out, and that would be kind of nice. So we're just going to edit that. You can do that from anywhere on here. It doesn't need to be the template. all we need to do is click plus, add the relation, notes. We're going to add the icon. And it's already labeled here. Since this is a project, not a very permanent view, we're not going to label this as unarchived. We're just going to keep it like this, but we are going to clean up the front end a little bit. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. We already know what project it's for. Move the tags. There we go. So like I was saying before, we took some notes on the website, landing page notes, and we want to store this somewhere as well, but not really. We can store that in business. Tag is this. We can say we got it from an article. Oh, we're done with that project. Now it's gone from the system, but it's not gone completely because we can go to the archive and see the project. Oh, building new websites. It's done. We have all of our resources. So let's say that, this is business. Let's make it a little bit more businessy. Let's add another resource for health. Or area, I meant to say. Let's add a heart. And we can add all of these resources like diet. We can add fitness. Let's add cardio, just anything that's related to health, the subgroups of it. We can create projects for these subgroups. We can create notes. We can get projects for just health, and we can relate it all to each other. So how the system works is there should never be anything in your life that you don't have a place to put it. So areas branch over big buckets of your life. Resources are like the sub-departments of those areas, and you can store projects, notes, tasks, and all of them. Well, except tasks, those are just for projects, because that will lead you to having better organization skills if you can actually roll up all of your tasks into projects, unless they're one-off tasks, which is why I have this view for today. So let's say I have, task 1 to do today. It's not going to pop up and not scheduled. We can see it's right here. I can plan my week out. I can plan projects out in a timeline right here. Let's say that, we have that project we were just working on and we're not done with it. So we want to add a timeline to it. Let's say we're going to finish this by next Saturday. So that's going to pop up in the timeline now, just like that. So yeah, if you have any questions on how the Second Brain operates, or you want to customize it at all, feel free to drop a comment in the description. I'm always answering everybody's comments. If you like this style of video where I build along something from scratch, please let me know and I can build some more of them. But that's all I have for today. If you like this, please subscribe and drop a like. It really helps the algorithm. And yeah, that's all I got. Until next time. Oh, one more thing. If you don't want to build the Second Brain by hand, you can click the link in the description and it will send you this exact template to your inbox. So if you don't want to follow along with me, you just want the Second Brain for yourself for free, go ahead and grab that. Ask for your email because I'm giving it away for free. So if you don't want to build along, grab that. But yeah, until next time.